This is the Earth. It's a very nice planet. It's got a lovely industrial civilization on it called humans. You might have heard of them. You might not have if you're unfamiliar with humans. I am a human, and because of that, I think that it's pretty valuable for humans to continue existing. Possibly a little self-serving, but it'd be like that sometimes. So, we got this nice, lovely planet, but oh shit, it's a nuclear war. Tons of nuclear weapons go off, radiation goes into the atmosphere, there's a nuclear winter, sunlight blocked out, and everyone dies. That's a bit inconvenient for me because, as previously mentioned, I am a human, and if all humans die, that means that unfortunately I die. You might also die depending on whether or not you are a human. I don't want to assume. But I think it's an interesting thing of what specifically kills you after a global thermonuclear war. Yep, we're real cheerful hours here. And the answer is, well, you might be living in a major city or a military installation, in which case you might just die directly in the fireball. You might be living near a major city or near a military installation, or perhaps just downwind, and perhaps the fallout will give you radiation poisoning. Or maybe you happen to get prepared. You saw that Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, and Donald Trump were getting in a fist fight in the UN meeting, and you saw the writing on the wall. You get in a plane, you fly over to your bunker in New Zealand. Now, do you have a bunker in New Zealand? Get a bunker in New Zealand. Anyway, regardless, what kills you then if you stay nice out of the way? Well, one problem is there's a nuclear winter, and a nuclear winter means that the sun is blocked out, and the sun being blocked out means that no plants are growing. And that perhaps poses a problem because you either eat plants or you eat meat, which is made by animals which eat plants, unless you're like fungus, but most people eat plants. Gonna have to take that one on faith. And that means that the plants dying in a nuclear winter is not particularly good for the future survival of humanity. And, well, there's not just a nuclear war that could kill all the plants. If we've switched context a bit to just wiping out agriculture. I mean, not necessarily all the edible plants. Yeah, there's quite a couple of things. We've got all these global disasters, which could cause a significant loss in food production, which isn't as bad. It's just like a major famine that kills a billion people or so, which isn't actually as bad as human extinction. It's, of course, incredibly terrible. It's absolutely awful. Like one of the worst thing that would happen in human history thus far. Yeah, and all these are some kind of things that could happen. Volcanic eruption, extreme weather events, asteroid impact. Volcanic eruption, asteroid impact, very rare. Some kind of very super crop disease or super crop pest. Supercharged locusts of some sort. A disease like bananas. A fun example is bananas. There used to be a different kind of banana back in the past. Then all the bananas of that type died because they're all cloned from each other. And while wheat, rice is way more robust, maybe in the future something could come along, take out rice. That would be very bad. Yeah, it would seriously bad. Non-nuclear war, climate change, pollinator death, save the bees, etc. A pandemic, like if all the farmers die in like smallpox 2.0, that would cause even greater knock-on effects. Like, even if the initial death toll is relatively modest, modest in big quotes, it would of course be enormous. It could be worse. That's a big problem. getting even worse. Industrial civilization could fail. Currently our farms rely on electricity, they rely on cheap available energy, electronics as a distinct category from electricity, computing, fossil fuels, we've got like farm equipment, and all of that's required to keep yields high enough to feed the world, and some disruption to that would cause major losses in food production. And then there's global catastrophic risks, like a global nuclear war causing a massive nuclear winter that would knock out all agriculture everywhere. Big problems. Then existential risks, those are worse than wiping out all the food, which they can be dealt with separately as a separate class. They're potentially rarer. So we've got everything in this range is the big problems that I'm talking about right now. The loss of global agriculture in some sense, from 10% global food production all the way up to 100% global food production. So what can you do about this? Well, ALLFED, let's see if I can remember what this stands for, the Alliance to Feed the Earth in Disasters. Now, this is a promising name and stands up to the acronym. So the goal of ALLFED is to find some way to avoid this. That even if the industrial civilization falls, or if the sun is blocked out completely, or partially even, then agriculture still takes place. There is still food for people to eat, and they might even survive. And this general category of thing is called alternate food. This sort of alternate food is just any sort of food that either doesn't require industrial civilization to continue existing, or, well, continue having high yields, high enough to feed everyone, and food that doesn't require large amounts of sunlight. So part of that is using the agriculture that we do have more efficiently, because there's still going to be some sunlight coming through, hopefully, and that will give us some crops, if significantly less. There's using kind of waste products and residue, and there are innovative ways to turn that into edible food, perhaps grim, but not as grim as mass starvation. Like, you can turn dead leaves into edible food, especially the kind of dead leaves of which there will be a great deal if sunlight is blocked out, massively reducing global agricultural yields. You can collect those up and it's into, let's not call it silent, but you can fishing, like you can scale up fishing, which might not be too good of an idea from a conservation point of view, but if you're not getting any sunlight, then it might be all you can do. There's using burning wood, burning stuff that you find in landfills for heat and light and energy to power things, even in the absence of electricity networks. That kind of thing. And ALLFED is just doing research into that, how to do that, what kind of things can be done. Have a website, I will link that in the description. You can read the papers that they've wrote. Much more eloquent than my half-remembered descriptions. And that is, that is why ALLFED should be funded, for the interests of having everyone not starve in the hopefully unlikely event of a global catastrophe, although it may be more likely than you think. Human extinction? My planet? It's more likely than you think, unfortunately. So they estimate that there is an 80% chance of a significant food production loss, which is significant food production loss is something in this category. It might perhaps be regional, like extreme global warming. That's something that has been talked about quite a lot recently. If say the entire equatorial region becomes too hot for agriculture to take place properly, then that would drop food yields, cause millions of refugees. It would be absolutely horrendous. And this kind of thing might be very likely at some point in the future. These numbers, I think, should perhaps be taken with a grain of salt. Of course, no way we can really know the true probability. 10% chance of a loss of industrial civilization. From one of these guys here, in the global catastrophe, or solar storm, cyber attack, perhaps, and 10% chance of total food production loss, which may be precipitated by the loss of industrial civilization, which is the bad things up here. A global nuclear war mostly, perhaps also AI or a virus that kills everyone, though they may be so bad that just having a food source won't help you. But this kind of stuff in the right hand region is perhaps even 10% likely, and those aren't very good stakes. It would be nice if we could get that down a bit lower. It would be very nice if we could get that down a lot lower. That's the kind of thing that ALLFED is working on, and that's why I think that ALLFED should get the grant from Project for Awesome.